first video, we talked about the entire passage that we're going to be looking at over the course of this weekend. So again, it was Matthew 28:16 through 20, where Jesus gives this call and this charge to his disciples to go to say, he says to them, go into the world, living like I've taught you to live, living like we've lived for the past 3 years together, and call people to know me. And I will be with you till the end of the age. Because at this point now, Jesus is going to ascend to heaven and send the Holy Spirit back to us to equip us in the world. But today, and in this talk, we're going to pick out just a few key verses and what it means for us. This is a big thing in our lives, and it requires some boldness. So what does it mean to have boldness with Jesus? Boldness for Jesus? Well, first, with Jesus, it doesn't start with us. It starts with him. And it doesn't mean that we have to figure it all out. Remember, in the first talk, we talked a little bit about this verse that says, the moment they saw him, they worshiped him. Some, though, held back, not sure about worship, about risking themselves totally. And that verse, it goes on to say that Jesus, undeterred, went right ahead and gave them this charge. God authorized and commanded me to commission you. Because going boldly doesn't mean going without any doubts and being totally sure about Jesus and what a life of faith looks like. Being bold doesn't mean that you never question anything. It means that you focus on Jesus. Because again, it doesn't start with us. A life of faith starts with Jesus and the person that we're following. The disciples weren't sure. You can see that in how they responded. But Jesus was sure. Look at what it says. Jesus, undeterred. The word undeterred means persevering with something despite setbacks. Jesus is confident in who he is and what he's about. He has the confidence to give us, to live for him, to follow him, to get in the boat with him and trust him in the world. One of the most common things that I hear every time we go on spring retreat from students is that they still have doubts and they don't feel like they can really commit to following Jesus because they have doubts. And oh, I get that. Life creates so many doubts from so many things that creep up in life that cause us to question whether or not God is really there, really working, or really even real. When I was in 8th grade, I decided to commit to following Jesus. I was in commitment class that year too. And I thought God would be all I needed him to be in life. And for me, that translated into thinking that God would make life easy or fix things that were going wrong in my life. You see, at that point in my life, my family was really messy at the time. There was a lot going on with my dad's business, with my parents' marriage. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of chaos. Life felt like it was raging out of control, and no one could do anything to stop it. It felt like I was in a raft going down a rapids by myself without a guide in the boat. And I had no idea what to do when I came to those huge waves or vertical drops. And so I thought, well, God can stop it. He's God. So I'll invite him into the boat with me. But it didn't stop. In fact, it got worse. I remember one night standing outside of my house, practically screaming at God that if he wasn't going to do anything good for my family, if he wasn't going to heal it or fix it or make it better, then he didn't need to have anything to do with it. And I told him to get out. I told him I didn't want to talk to him about it anymore, and I didn't want him involved in my family. But Jesus was undeterred in my life. He continued to be with me. And I continued to be with him, even though I was mad, even though I didn't understand. I knew he could change things, and I felt like he wasn't doing anything. Jesus is always working. He's always moving. He's always going. He knows the river, and he knows how to get us down it, no matter what the waves look like around us. Doubts don't have to be something that stop us from living a life with Jesus. We can live a life with Jesus, and our doubts can be in there. There's space and room for all of it, because Jesus desires for us to bring everything to him. Our frustration, our confusion, our doubts, our anger, our misunderstanding of why things aren't changing or why things aren't getting better in our lives. He invites us to bring that all to him, and he holds it all, and he loves us in the midst of it. And he is always working, even if we can't see it or feel it. He lets us and invites us to be a part of a life in him, his power, and his mission in the world. Jesus is undeterred. Jesus perseveres through setbacks that seem like they will wipe us out completely. He keeps going because his mission in the world is bigger, and his love for us is stronger. Going boldly with Jesus doesn't mean that we rely on ourselves. Going boldly with Jesus means that we rely on him and focus on him. Jesus made a bold sacrifice for you and for me. And then we, in turn, get to make a bold decision to surrender our lives to him. What does it look like for you to choose to surrender to him? What does it look like for you to be undeterred, to continue to choose him, to continue to walk with him, no matter what waves are going on around you? That's the question I want you to sit with for a little bit as we continue to walk through this virtual spring retreat CC weekend together. What does it look like for you to go bold with Jesus?